Well, you guys, I just came back from dropping mom off at the airport. Just like that, it was already time for that. At my place, all I have is to finish up the detailing because she didn't take. Of course, everything that belonged to her is not very practical or reasonable, honestly. Now it's left to me to sort through it and find out what things I may be interested in keeping, which things cannot stay, which things I'm dropping off and donating. It's gonna be very overwhelming. It's gonna take some time, but I just gotta tell myself to just do a little bit every day as much as I can, not let it discourage me. I would love to show you guys my room because my room now became the storage room in a sense. And yeah, I'm kind of feeling down because months ago, before all of this process began, I had been doing a good job about clearing it out, downsizing, having a corner for the business side of things, and then my personal stuff, of course, it was much more tidier, neater. I was having more space since I was inheriting some of mom's bins and stuff, but then now everything that hasn't been addressed, such as what's getting donated and what's being kept, it is all living right there in my room. And at least after transferring almost everything that officially needs to live there until I go through it, it doesn't look as bad as I thought. I thought that my entire floor was going to be occupied to where I would have very little walking space. But yeah, it's been considerably organized. My bed, I just piled up some things in there that Ma had already pre-bagged for me. I have a great opportunity here, but at the same time, it's overwhelming because as it was, I was already pretty busy and feeling like I was falling behind. And now that I have even more things, now I feel like I'm slightly further behind. And the thing about it is what we have is not necessarily things that I would consider hot items. So I gotta tell myself I gotta be patient. During this stage, all that I have to work on is being detailed and organizing it in a way that's easy to retrieve. There was a time in which I told myself I really should consider labeling where I'm putting everything, but I thought, nah, I have a pretty good memory. But the problem with that became I would go a long time without revisiting those boxes to maintain my memory alive on what's there. At some point, I had to pull everything apart, which were 5 boxes, to browse for items. And that became, of course, very frustrating and time consuming. And now the lesson I learned from that is no matter how simple something looks, go ahead and start labeling things because your memory ain't gonna be the same. When you're scrambling, it's definitely not gonna be the same. I think it's just best to have that organization from the start. But I personally thought that it's just crazy how life just happens. So when it comes to the overall sentiment of this, like I've said before, it's the first time that mom and I are ever apart for prolonged periods of time. The longest I'd ever been away from her was for a month when I went to visit the family and I went by myself. And now it's like it happened without much planning. This was all decided and set in motion only 3 months ago. It was back in March when the accident happened. I want to say within the week after, something like that. Of course, a little lot happened in between, and I call it a little lot because it's a lot of filler materials, like what it means to move, notify places and cancel some things. You guys can figure. I'm pretty sure that most of you, if not all of you, have moved at some point before. All that entails. I'm really happy for her because I could tell that the last time she had visited the family, she had a great time. She had a blast. The only thing that was getting in her way was her job. And she is only about a year and a half away from officially being able to retire. So I just encouraged her. I said, well, it looks like you always were a good saver, so you shouldn't be too bad with money. And then on top of that, after the RAV situation, fortunately, she was able to get money back. It'll be pretty helpful because it's money that you didn't have to worry about in any other way. Because if you're moving and you're not taking your vehicle with you, then it has to go somewhere. You have to do something with it. I think selling it would have become stressful. Even though there are places that would have taken it, something like CarMax, again, it's still a process. I feel like things happen the way they did, and it just couldn't have worked out any other way. The timing of her having to retire from work due to medical reasons, she was unemployed until she could find either another position within the company, but all of the positions available, A, she didn't have the skill for, and B, they were far away. In addition, she's tired. She's really tired, and I can totally understand her fatigue individually. I have witnessed it my entire life. So now as an adult, I can think about those things and put it together and experience and put into words exactly what it means for Ma to express certain matters, such as, oh, so we gotta do taxes, we gotta do this and that, all that adult stuff that I'll spare you from. As someone who experienced that, and at least I got oriented to a degree of what it meant, I had that theoretical experience, but now to have the literal experience, it just helped encourage me to continue with my style, which is simple. Stay simple. I'm a very simple person. Going through those things convinced me that I ought to continue being simple because it's really the thing that suits me. There are some people who can excel in the chaos. You can handle the pressure of becoming educated, handling your career, being on the search for a family too, a spouse and things like that, and that is your world. You don't mind that pace. I personally do. I like to have a focus, and I always thought I want to work, but I don't want to work too much. I shouldn't need to work too much because I don't want a lot. Therefore, I'm able to channel, redirect my energy and focus onto other things. Now that Ma is going to be physically distanced, I think it's also encouraging for me to maybe try to get out more because I know the family has been asking about me and when I'm going to visit and things like that. And it's just hard because I don't have the time now that I had as a teenager. And as a teenager, it was pretty much, oh, okay, it's summer vacation from school. I really don't have anything non-negotiable going for me. Boom, I can just ship myself out there, fly myself out there. But nowadays, as an adult, you have bills, you gotta play with your work schedule and your PTO. You don't wanna drain it too much, but at the same time, you wanna use it so that you don't just lose it and things like that. So yeah, I enjoyed the process even at the times when it became frustrating. And the times when it became frustrating was when, unfortunately, Ma desired for more of my input, more of my presence, and I kept telling her that realistically that's not something practical. If you have your own personal bills, for instance, you take care of that. Do not wait for me to arrive from an 8-hour shift and then expect for me to be eager and thrilled to want to go out there and do things with you. That's another thing that I'm kind of, I guess, gloomy about, and it is that her best years that are coming up now, which are free from the shackles of having a job and stuff, I won't get to enjoy that side of her because I got to have her when, we were both in survival mode. We were both trying to edify each other's resources. That means time away, time apart, time that's invested in other places with other people as opposed to on each other. I just looked at that as a lesson of it reinforces my values, but it also helps me be encouraged into doing things to keep me from suffering from that. So what can I do? What can I eliminate to ensure that I don't remain trapped in a place like that? I will continue to build up on that topic because there's still more things that happened during my DMV visit that I told you guys about that I overheard that I didn't get to share. So I have some pending stories there. The good thing is that this doesn't have a time limit. This thing is gonna continue for as long as I live. Yeah, with Mom, I'm just happy that she's going somewhere, that she's gonna get the support, especially the support that I couldn't give her because realistically, financially, I know I need help to address my matters. And as much as I would like to say, I can support my parents with my own money and things like that, I don't think it's fair that that is expected out of me when I'm struggling to build my own self up. So at least over there, she'll have the support of many, many, many people. And some of these people are even friends from ages ago. Some have been around since before I was born. And some are friends of her parents, who by extension she inherits as friends. And then this could be an opportunity for me too to consider maybe strengthening the connections that I have already made, both locally and even out there. So yeah, this is one of those things that I look at it as, it's of course a new stage in my life, it's a new chapter, because this is an individual I was used to having all day long, just like Dusty is used to having her all around, and he's been acting weird, and now his meltdown is getting ready to start. But it's one of those things that sometimes I think when something happens and the timing feels right, even if you feel the rush and the stress during it, it's just time to reflect on it and come up with a plan. And that's what I'm doing right now. I have a notebook in which I'm writing down the things that are pending. No matter how simple and stupid it is, I want to write it down so that I have a visual of it. And I started writing my pending matters down beginning some 2 years ago, when I observed one of my managers just loves to write stuff down. And then I thought, I'm a writer. Why am I not doing that? I felt a degree of shame. I always felt like I'm not an old person or a little kid who needs to be shown things. I can remember things and carry them in my brain. But then I observed that, of course, that was draining me in ways that I wasn't very aware of. Now I'm on the quest to find a place to donate mom's medical equipment from when she had her procedures. Specifically, it's a commode and a walker. I have called some places in advance, given that Google was not giving me answers for my local area, not even my state. So I said, okay, that's a mini project that I have going on. I have already phoned 2 places, and I'm getting ready to go to Goodwill, but Goodwill in my area possibly cannot take it. But when I go there in person to drop off my first round of stuff, I'll go ahead and ask. And if they say no, there is one more glimmer of hope that I have, which is call somebody who I feel might know about this. Yeah, so it's gonna be very busy. It's not gonna be very fun around here, probably until around September. But my biggest concern is to not become discouraged and overwhelmed, because sometimes when I see a lot of things piled up, I mentally get blocked and paralyzed to where I don't do anything. And another thing that I would like is for me to continue my somewhat healthier routine when it comes to my days off. I used to be so beat up and depressed and down and drained that I would never get up on time. I would sleep in because I wanted for my day to start as late as possible so that I didn't have to exist during it very long. And I did waste a lot of time doing that. I have talked about it before. But basically, there came a certain season in my life in which I was just overwhelmed and physically it shut me down. Now I am aware of the thing that I was predicting in that past, which was there's going to come a point in which I'm going to reflect and feel down that I was being defeated by those feelings. And on top of that, not understanding how I got to that. I knew why I was feeling that way. I just didn't know how it had to get so bad to where it physically crippled me. But now I'm like, okay, for the past few months, I have had a good flow of being up on time. And I don't want to be as timid about making moves during my day too. Sometimes I still think like I'm that person who needs to be super mindful about everything. Don't drive unnecessarily because it's expensive and dangerous and risky and all those things. I just want to shift my mentality a little bit and feel more present now. And some of it was also when you're influenced by somebody whose personality may not be compatible with you, maybe because they're in a different stage in their lives. At least I obtained the skills to address that and deal with that. But I never had the skill of not letting it affect me. to where it manifested in the form of, say, what I just shared about not getting up or feeling shy or being a recluse because I want to avoid potential stressors or pressures or anything like that. So, yeah, now my goal is to simply live a better life than I had. And also for mom to enjoy this chapter for her too, because she's gonna hang out with grandma, and grandma genuinely is beginning to need the help. They never got to be close in the past, so maybe now they can have some of that time. In the same manner that I'm saying, oh, I only enjoyed my mom in retirement for about 3 months, and not even that much because we were doing just adult business related things, which is, oh, cancel this and do that. Basically, time with me is never time for fun. We never did anything recreational. Now that she is somewhere else, now I can think of it as, if I want to see my mom, obligatory it's going to be in a recreational manner because I have to travel to get there. I feel like when your schedule looks like that, you focus more on that quality time. Whereas when you're here living together, it just feels like a business. And unfortunately, that's kind of what we had. We never talked to each other unless there was a problem. That hurt, you know? So now it's nice to see that more than likely her problems are going to be fewer, and she also doesn't have a job to report to. Maybe she won't need to ever get a job again. And I hope that's the case because I worry for her physically, but also mentally. I mean, more than 40 years working is not ideal. It's just not fun. Your best years have been invested already. So yeah, I just thought I would ramble about this and kind of capture how I felt during this time and my immediate thoughts. And of course, I'm going to physically miss my mom, but fortunately, she will be accessible. Yeah, it's something I have to get used to because just like I was missing the RAV when it got totaled, and I'm like, I'm just not used to seeing the picture in my parking lot incomplete. Now it's like the picture in my personal life will feel incomplete because even if I didn't see or interact with my mom living with me daily, at least we had presence. Like I could see the evidence that she took a shower, evidence that she ate, those little things, details like that. I'm pretty sure that this is a topic that I'll revisit many times and share new details and stuff, but I just thought that I would take this time to do just that. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon.